Prince Maekar Targaryen is dead. The killer, Prince Baelor Breakspear, his own brother. When the funeral pyre was built, he made a decision. He would give up the most precious thing he possessed. He placed the 3 dragon eggs onto his brother's funeral pyre. Then the ashes shifted, and from the blackened ruins of the pyre, 3 tiny creatures emerged, winged, scaled, alive. The impossible had happened. After 90 years of silence, dragons had returned. The news spread across the 7 kingdoms faster than any raven could fly. From King's Landing, to Old Town, to Winterfell. The whispers were always the same. The dragons live. Some dismissed the stories as madness, while others believed the gods themselves had returned. But far across the narrow sea, one man knew exactly what those rumors meant. Bittersteel. The aging founder of the Golden Company. The greatest enemy House Targaryen had ever faced. For decades, he had prepared for the day a Blackfyre would reclaim the Iron Throne. Now, everything had changed. Because armies could be defeated. Kingdoms could be conquered, but dragons change history. Prince Baelor Breakspear looked upon the hatchlings with different eyes. He did not see weapons, he saw peace. If dragons had once united the 7 kingdoms, perhaps they could unite them once again. Perhaps the Blackfyres could be forced to surrender without another generation dying on the battlefield. For the first time since Maekar's death, hope returned. The 3 dragons were unlike one another. The first, black scales streaked with crimson. The second, a deep emerald green. And the third, cream-colored scales kissed with pale gold. Each unique, each magnificent, and each destined to change the fate of Westeros. As Prince of Dragonstone, and with the blessing of his father, King Daeron, Baelor claimed the Crimson Hatchling for himself, as the king decided he would not bond nor train the dragons due to his age. As one day Baelor would inherit the Iron Throne, and the dragon would inherit the skies beside him. The second hatchling was entrusted to his eldest son, Prince Valar. Baelor decided Valar to have the emerald green dragon as it resembled one of Valar's eyes, which was green due to his Dornish ancestry, unlike the purple Targaryen eyes. But the final dragon presented Baelor with a choice. He could have rewarded his own blood. Instead, he honored the memory of his fallen brother. The hatchling was given to Maekar's eldest son, Prince Daeron. The decision surprised the court, yet it was exactly what they had come to expect from Baelor Breakspear. Duty before desire, justice before privilege. Only one prince could not hide his disappointment: Aerion Targaryen. From the moment he saw the dragons, he wanted one. Not because he loved them, because he believed he deserved them. He confronted Baelor personally. He argued that Daeron was weak, a drunkard, unworthy of such a gift. Baelor listened, then quietly refused. The dragon belonged to Makar's firstborn, and Baelor knew Arian's mental instability, and granting him a dragon would lead to downfall of the empire. The matter was settled, for everyone, except Arian. That day, jealousy took root, and hatred followed soon after. The dragons now required names. Baelor named his dragon Makarion, a tribute to the brother whose death would forever haunt him. Prince Valar chose the name Whagar, inspired by one of old Valyria's legendary dragon, and also since the name is quite similar to his. The final hatchling remained unnamed. Its rider never cared enough to choose. Prince Daeron spent more time inside wine cups than in dragon yards, so another young prince quietly assumed responsibility, and it was none other than the little Prince Egg. To him, the hatchling was never a possession. It was a companion. They grew together, played together, trusted one another, and when the time finally came to choose a name, Egg looked into history. He named the dragon after his favorite beast that the great Targaryen kings once had, Balerion, the greatest dragon Westeros had ever known. Few noticed it then, but history often begins with moments no one thinks important. Meanwhile, another legend was beginning. The hedge knight Duncan the Tall had risked everything for justice. Now, the crown rewarded him. Baelor personally ordered the finest masters-at-arms to complete Duncan's training. When that training ended, the prince offered him a place few men ever earned, a white cloak. Duncan became one of the King's Guard. For the orphan from Flea Bottom, it was the greatest honor imaginable. Soon afterward, Egg asked Duncan if he might once again become his squire. The answer came without hesitation. Yes. Even little Balerion was often brought to the training yards. The enormous knight feared the creature at first, but dragons, like friendships, have a way of growing unexpectedly. Almost a year passed. The dragons grew faster than anyone imagined. Then, disaster struck. The Ironborn had returned. Longships appeared along the western coast. Villages burned. Ports were looted. Entire families disappeared overnight. The cries for help reached King's Landing. Baelor understood one terrible truth. By the time an army marched across Westeros, thousands would already be dead. For almost a century, the Targaryens had ruled without dragons. Now, for the first time, a prince made the decision his ancestors once made without hesitation. He would ride to war on Dragonback. The dragons had grown large enough, strong enough. Their flames no longer resembled sparks. They had become weapons. Baelor saddled Makarion. Prince Valar mounted Whagar. Prince Daeron refused. Many believed it was cowardice, but they were wrong, because Daeron carried a burden few men could understand. Prophetic dreams, the kind that haunted Targaryens throughout history. The night his dragon had been entrusted to him, he dreamed of standing before a great white beast. Its eyes burned with hatred. Green fire poured from its jaws, and Daeron watched himself burn. When he woke up, he never touched the dragon again. Instead, he allowed Egg to raise it, to train it, and as the result, the dragon chose Egg. When Egg learned that the dragons were flying to war, he begged to join them. Baelor refused, not because Egg lacked courage, because he was still a child. Arion offered himself instead. The answer remained no, because of which Arion became more hateful. Even Balerion rejected him. Animals often sense what people cannot, and dragons remember everything. And Balerion saw how Arion treated Egg. As dawn broke, 2 dragons rose into the sky. For the first time since the Dance of the Dragons, Targaryens were flying into battle. The sight alone changed Westeros. Along the western shore, hope had already died. Ironborn axes cut through villages, homes burned, children cried. Those who resisted were brutally slaughtered. Those who surrendered suffered little better. The sea carried only smoke and screams. Then, the shadows arrived. At first, the villagers thought clouds had crossed the sun, but clouds do not beat their wings. They looked upward and witnessed something no living soul had ever seen in almost a century. Dragons, real dragons, descending from the heavens. Fire rained upon the Iron Fleet. Longships erupted into floating infernos. Warriors who had terrified the western coast only moments before now fled in panic. There was nowhere to run, no shield against dragonfire. Once the Ironborn were cornered, the dragons burnt them to ashes. As royal soldiers swept across the beaches, the dragons finished what the army began. When the smoke finally cleared, nothing remained, only charred hulls, blackened sand, and silence. It was not merely a victory, it was a declaration. The Age of Dragons had returned. The news echoed throughout every corner of the known world. Lords who once questioned the Iron Throne suddenly remembered their loyalty. The Iron Islands received a single message from Prince Baelor. Raid again, and dragonfire would reduce Pike itself to molten stone. But no one felt the consequences more deeply than House Blackfyre. Across the narrow sea, Bittersteel understood what others celebrated. As long as House Targaryen possessed dragons, the Blackfyre dream was already dead. Unless they found dragons of their own. Then, a whisper reached his ears, hidden within the Riverlands. At the Castle of White Walls, Lord Ambrose Butterwell possessed an ancient dragon egg. Bittersteel smiled. The war had entered a new chapter. It would no longer be fought for crowns with swords and arrows. It would be fought with dragons.